Yeah.
I don't see why both of those things can't be true because he eats just a shitload of garlic and doesn't wear deodorant.
Well, if he stunk, then there would be no expectations, and then he couldn't be a letdown. That's why.
Damn it, dude! You just turned that on me so hard, and you got me.
Welcome to the Dynasty Pulse on Fantasy Football Plus Network, founded by Bradley Stalder of Player Profiler fame, and also simulcast on the Undroppables Network, founded by our fearless leader Chalk over there over here at the Undroppables. Whatever. We are here to bring you the latest in Week 8 news as it relates to Dynasty Fantasy Football, as well as talk about Week 9 a little bit. I am Biggs. He is Greinberg. The other one is Schultzy. And, the other one is a great song by the Grateful Dead, so don't let that bring you down if you are the other one. R.I.P. Phil Lesh and Jerry and Bill and Pig and all the dead guys that have died already.
But not RIP this one. I'm still
hang on, Bobby. We love you.
Yeah. Tough week, but great music.
Depends on who you ask, Chiefs fan.
Well, I mean, it just so happens that the Chiefs won again, but seems to be par for course, but they're gonna lose, and it could be this week.
Hey, my punter had a 74-yard punt that went out of bounds inside the 1-yard line.
That was a great punt. It was fantastic to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your team also strolled out Christian Kirk when they were trying to trade bait him, and then he ended up getting a season-ending injury. Also did that. So Jags be jagging.
That ball up the seam, and I was like, "Look at this one, man!" Kirk goes up for it. He hits the ground, the ball pops out, and I was like, "He has died."
Fuck. Anyways, well,
yeah,
we had a busy week here in the NFL, and let's get into some news and some notes from around the league.
It's
here.
Greinberg with the news.
Thanks, Biggs. Fuck, that's music to my ears. I love when you do that. Can you do it one more time?
La 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 la.
All right. Okay, so let's start with the injuries, and we got Jordan Love with the groin injury. Looks like he returned to practice on Thursday after sitting out Wednesday. An injury in Week 8 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They didn't even need Jordan Love to kick the shit out of the Jags, so they put in Malik Willis, who ended up playing okay, but Love looks like he's going to be playing this week. What do you guys think? Is he in the lineup in a must-win game essentially for the Packers this week?
I think so.
Yeah. Why not?
He's not in my lineup.
Yeah,
I was watching the game obviously, and it was just a weird ass injury, man. Like he threw a pass and he got bumped by Trayvon Walker. Like Trayvon didn't even hit him to the ground, or like it wasn't even hard. And they kept showing it, and even the announcers were like, "We're pretty sure this is where it happened." Like, I don't know, it was weird. But so I don't think it's like super serious. And yeah, it's the Lions. So yeah, he's gonna play, right?
He needs to. Right. Okay. Well, let's move on to the Jags and Eagles game because Brian Thomas Jr. limited in practice on Wednesday. I'm not sure exactly what happened in Thursday practice. Schultzy might have a more.
Let's go to our Jaguars insider, Schultzy. What do you got?
Well, I'm going to look up the practice report right now for you, but I do know that the initial MRI was not as bad as they originally thought. He said that he felt good. They were initially saying like 2 to 4 weeks, I think. But he said like he felt good, and then the MRI came back totally clean. He was limited today again.
So it looks like he has a shot to play this week. What about Travis Etienne, who was kind of a game time decision last week, looking like this week? You think Schultzy or what?
Wait, we have a Jaguars insider on the ground. Schultzy, what do you say about that one?
Thanks, Biggs. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer that question. Honestly, I have no fucking clue. Last week, he was limited all week. I thought he was going to play, and then he popped up inactive, and he's been limited all week again this week. I got nothing. I don't know.
Well, since he is my only other starting running back in my home league, I have Jalen Wright, I have Trey Benson, I have Blake Corum, I have Kamani Vidal, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, and Zamir White. I got to go with Etienne. I have to. I don't have a choice.
Yeah. And
so make it happen, Schultzy. Get down there.
All right, I'll get Doug on the line.
Cool, thanks.
Doug. All right, let's move on to maybe Drake May. Concussion protocol. He has got a chance to play against Tennessee this week. You know, it's a tough situation with these head injuries. What are your thoughts, Biggs? Do you think he gets into the lineup this week?
If I were him, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Not against this Tennessee defense.
Yeah.
You know, he's a young kid. If I'm the brain trust in New England, I'm gonna sit him.
Yeah. What's there to prove at this stage? You know, let him recover from that head injury and move on, right? I mean, they're already, you know, fast tracking him like already. So let's, you know, let him heal up.
Yeah.
If this were like a pain management thing or like a sprained ankle or I don't know, something like that, where it's like, yeah, he can go out there, but it's the brain. And you're right. There's nothing extra to gain and there's only way more to lose.
Yep.
So DK Metcalf, he is not been practicing at all to start this week here. It's a crucial game against the Rams. Despite missing multiple practices, the team continues to monitor him and say he's day-to-day. Really, that whole offense really revolves around DK Metcalf. When you saw last week against a team that, you know, the Buffalo Bills thought that might have been a little bit more high scoring of a game, but it wasn't. And DK Metcalf, I think, really proved to be valuable missing piece there. What do you guys think about that? Schultz, start with you.
I mean, anytime, like this is going to sound one of those stupid, obvious statements, but like anytime you're missing a dude of that talent, like it's just one of those ripple effects on an offense. Even when he's not performing, he's still taking attention. He's like a piece of a game plan. You have to game plan for him specifically, and you have to respect him every single play he's out there. And without that threat, we saw the effects of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I had JSN pegged as a guy that I thought that would maybe emerge here. Biggs, what are your thoughts? Does DK mean that, you know, he needs to be in the lineup for JSN to be successful here?
Well, it's a narrative that we've been following around the league. Specifically, Baltimore adding Diontae Johnson, the Jets adding Devontae Adams, the Buffalo Bills adding Amari Cooper. What we've seen is and the Chiefs adding DeAndre Hopkins. The more mouths you have to feed, the more it does give other players the opportunity to kind of rise to the occasion. And when you have missing pieces like that, the Raiders trading away Devontae Adams, all of those aforementioned guys leaving their former teams. You have injuries to the New Orleans Saints wide receiver core. You have injuries to the Houston Texans wide receiver core. And when you allow the defense to now concentrate on the guys who were not necessarily the number one piece in that offense, it kind of makes the rest of it kind of sputter a little bit. And I think that's what we saw from JSN. Does that mean JSN isn't capable of being a wide receiver one? No, not necessarily. It's just as the Seahawks are constructed and schemed right now, their playbook is set up for DK Metcalf to provide a certain service and JSN to provide a complementary service. If Grubb was to go ahead and restructure everything, so that JSN was the man, I think he'd be just fine. But as it stands right now, it's hard to do that in the middle of the season. And I think it hurts him and Lockett, Noah Fant to a certain extent, whatever, Geno Smith especially. So, yeah, DK is important. Come back, please. My JSN shares require it.
My DK shares require it.
I was going to add too. Yeah, you mentioned like it doesn't mean JSN can't come around with DK not on the field, but this was the first chance they had at it, and they're doing it on the fly, like you mentioned. So yeah, that's a good point.
All right, let's move on to
Thank you, sir.
A player that
come on.
was a monster player last week and suffered a concussion late in the end of the game there, and that's Tyrone Tracy. Came back to... What? You're scared?
He said he was a monster.
He was a monster, and it was a scary situation that happened there with that concussion, and returned to practice on Thursday. Optimistic about him returning potentially. He's definitely sees
monster mashed.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. What do you think? You think he plays?
I think he plays.
I think he plays too.
He's on track.
He's on track to play, and he's supplanted Devin Singletary as the lead back. We seen that, and do you think there's looking back there now, Biggs? Do you think Tyrone Tracy has got that role now solidified for himself?
Absolutely. Devin Singletary is dead. Shout out to our girl Amber who coined Dingletary.
Yeah, Dingletary's like always just been fine. Like he's like okay, and he does things well, and he'll do stuff for you. But as soon as they gave it to Tracy, the dude's popping, breaking off chunks, and like, yeah, no, it's over.
Okay. Shall we hit up the Diontae Johnson news and what that means for fantasy football right now? So
is there Diontae Johnson news?
A little bit. We touched base. Yeah, we touched base a bit on the player profiler Thursday night tailgate.
Oh, did we? And I just talked about it a couple minutes ago.
Yeah,
no, that was yesterday.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is yesterday's news. So, we could talk more about it if you want. Shall we get into it, or no?
Sure.
I'm in the camp that this is fantastic for real life and a bummer for fantasy.
Me too. That's my take.
Wrong.
Wrong. So wrong.
So wrong. And so
they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Look above my head. Look right above my head.
Honestly, the only person I think this is good for is Lamar Jackson.
Avocado.
No, right next to the avocado. Under the marching bear.
I can't read. Oh, yes, I can. I love it.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
All right, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I'm totally good. I think this is great content, and let's continue on it. Like this situation here in Baltimore I think it's great for the Ravens as a team, but I think it isn't great for Zay Flowers. I don't think it's great for Diontae Johnson. Their values were better in their original situations. I think that Derrick Henry is going to be even for where he is. I don't think this bumps him up. I think this helps Lamar Jackson a little bit. If anything, it actually, hurts the tight ends a bit. But I think as a whole, this is not a great thing for fantasy football.
Well, you guys and I agree differently. I will just say a rising tide lifts all boats.
And I get that, but there's only so much. They're already scoring so many points in a game already. Like they're already, maximizing what they're doing. So now they're just taking away from what they already have. They're making their team a little bit more spread out now. I think this is.
Think about it this way, okay? The team is spread out, but what that does is it allows a little bit more room for running with the ball. So whereas Diontae Johnson had people on him all the time, and he was getting tackled at the point of attack. Same as Zay Flowers, same as Mark Andrews. Now the defense is spread out a little bit more. So Diontae Johnson is adding a few yards to each of his PPR receptions. Zay Flowers is adding a few yards because he has more room to run. You might take a touchdown away, but who's averaging more than a touchdown a game anyway? I don't think it affects them in fantasy as much as the narrative wants to say it does, and I think it helps them more than people want to believe. That's all.
Diontae Johnson is based off of targets alone, and he gets his bread and butter off
those targets. If he has separation,
nothing,
he's away
because he's
from
got
the
no
defender.
yak.
And he catches the ball, right? Because when the defense is focused, when the defense is focused on him, and they know that he's the target leader, they've got one cornerback in his hip pocket that he suddenly separates from and catches the ball, and then they have a safety who is ready for him to catch the ball, and so now he's got two defenders right on him as soon as he gets the ball.
When is a safety even close to Diontae Johnson on the field, because his targets are so close to the line of scrimmage all the time?
That's the job of the safety, is to monitor attack the football where it is. So they watch the receivers, and when the receivers catch the ball, they go to the receivers. I'm saying it spreads out the safeties so that they have to travel further to get to him. If he is separated from the defensive back, then he has a little bit more room to work. When he's got guys on him immediately, then he's not going to have the yak. But if he does separate in a more spread out defense, he's got more room to throw in some wiggle. All I'm saying is that it changes the dynamic, and it gives guys an opportunity to be better at what they do. Zay Flowers was a lot of times out of position because they didn't have a guy in the Diontae Johnson role. So when Zay Flowers doesn't have to do the things that he's lesser at, he gets to focus more on the things that he's supremely talented at. When that happens, that makes his reps better. When Diontae Johnson comes over to a team that has a balanced attack versus what the Panthers were doing, then he has the opportunity to maximize the reps that he gets. Mark Andrews has the opportunity to maximize the reps that he gets. They might have fewer touches, but they're going to be able to do more with the fewer touches that they have, thereby increasing their fantasy output. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, and it's a fair point. I understand how it can elevate. I just think that with a guy like Diontae, his bread and butter is based off of target share and targets. And I just think that with Zay Flowers there too, they're going to be splitting that. And I think it's a fail for both of them. Schultzy, weigh in here.
My thing, I do agree with what Biggs is saying as far as like the lesser touches may be more effective for him. I think just with the way we've projected Baltimore's offense all offseason by saying like we don't know where all these targets are going. They spread it around a ton. It's murky from week to week. And that's pretty much been, it's kind of been the case here for us this year too. And yeah, now you're adding another mouth to try and guess where it's going. So
right, but you're taking away from Rashad Bateman and you're taking away from Nelson Aguilar. So everybody who was startable in fantasy remains startable. All you're doing is just shifting the focus away from a couple guys that weren't, and you're increasing the volume of somebody who is coming over from another team where they were able, the other defenses were able to focus more on him. But you look at like what he did to the Raiders. He had a breakout game with Andy Dalton. He created space. He's going to be able to do that with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is going to be looking to get him the ball. He's going to be able to do the things that he needs to do with Zay Flowers. The only people in this offense that it hurts are Rashad Bateman and Nelson Aguilar.
You're on mute, Schultzy.
Muted.
Sorry, my headphone died and then it muted me.
Oh no!
I think it's just really strong projection.
Is it okay?
He's not going to eat into anyone else.
I love it. He died. Oh my God, is he okay? Anyway, sorry, I was talking out of turn, Schultzy. I missed what you said.
No, all I said was I think it's really strong projection to say that Diontae's not going to eat into any of those guys' work at all.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So we talked a little bit about A-Rich on another show here. Biggs, should we talk a little bit more about Anthony Richardson and his situation in Indianapolis? Like, what is the long term? Yeah, let's talk about it. Like, what is the long term, plan here now? They're benching him after he was injured again. Came back in, played a couple games, missed a couple deep balls the last game, which were probably pretty catchable as far as his wide receivers go. What do we do with Anthony Richardson going forward here?
Well, the narrative was that he wasn't in shape and kind of tapped out in the third quarter or fourth quarter or whatever, went to the coaching staff and said, hey, I can't go on any further. There are mixed attitudes about that. I personally think that took a lot of, let's call it gumption I mean, you're talking about a culture in which being a dude is highly regarded, and it's a culture where you learn to play hurt. You learn to perform above all other kind of setbacks and everything. And for him to go out and admit, look, I'm in a position where I can't help the team right now. I think that took balls. It would have been very easy for him to stay in the game and get absolutely trashed by a defense because he was out of condition. So I don't agree with the people who are saying that it shows that he's weak or it shows a lack of character or a lack of dudeness or whatever. I actually applaud him because as an athlete, my entire life, I see the hurdle that it would take to admit I'm lesser right now. And that's not a bridge I was ever motivated to cross. So I actually applaud him for doing that. With that, it seems that was a major focal point for Shane Steichen when he benched him and said that Joe Flacco is the guy moving forward. Shane Steichen is coming at it with the attitude of, I'm a head coach, I'm guiding this team, and this team has an opportunity to make the playoffs. What is the situation that gives our team the best opportunity to make the playoffs? Going with a veteran quarterback or going with a guy who's still learning? And we talked about it a couple weeks ago on whatever show we do. By the way, Mike and Schultzy and I do quite a few shows on the Undroppables Fantasy Football Plus Player Profiler and the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. So go to all those platforms and like and subscribe to all our shows. And then if you go back through our back catalog, you may find the show that I'm referencing here. But we talked about Anthony Richardson in the past and the fact that it would benefit the Colts to go with Flacco because he knows what he's doing. He's a long-term veteran. He knows how to read opposing defenses and everything. If you are a team that is winning, then you go with the guy that knows what he's doing. If you're a team that's rebuilding or in kind of a holding pattern status mode, then it would make sense to have your quarterback learn on the field. The Indianapolis Colts are fighting for a playoff spot, or at least they think that they are. So Joe Flacco is the right thing to do.
I think they think they're fighting for a playoff spot, but it's more you have a coaching staff fighting for their jobs.
That too.
And that's like a problem teams run into all the time, is the coaching staff is looking out for now, and maybe looking out for now isn't the best long-term strategy for a team. But coaching staffs obviously have to win to keep a job. So yeah, that happens a lot to teams.
I think when decisions like that are made, it has a lot to do with the relationship of the coach to the owner or the coach to the general manager, what have you. When that relationship is strained, I think you see coaches making poor decisions. When that relationship is healthy, I think you see coaches making the right decisions. And I do think that Shane Steichen has a good relationship with his ownership and front office.
The only thing I got on the AR thing is the team drafts the 21-year-old quarterback who has
no experience
in his life dating back to high school, and then you ditch him 10 starts in.
Right. Yeah,
it's because it's the coaching staff situation here, right? I mean, we're talking about that. It's based off of Shane Steichen trying to keep his job in order to make a playoff push. But in reality, is it the best situation for the franchise to let Rich play it out, have his growing pains, play some games? Because in college, he hasn't played any. You know what I mean? How many starts did he have? He had very little time to develop as a quarterback, and that's what he needs. So if you're really going to put your investment in a quarterback, let him play it out and have those growing pains. But if you really want to win now, is this a team that's going to win the Super Bowl? Look at yourself in the mirror. No, they're not.
Right. But you run the risk of getting him hurt more. Okay, let's take a situation like Jordan Love. And I have always been an advocate for young quarterbacks carrying a clipboard and not starting right away. We've talked about it on many, many shows a lot of times. You have the emergence of Sam Darnold. You have the emergence of Baker Mayfield. You have these guys who were thrust into the starting roles immediately, and that's a hard thing to do. Playing quarterback in the NFL is regarded as one of the most difficult things on the planet to do sports-wise. Okay, so you're giving up the reins to a 21, 22, 23-year-old kid who isn't fully mentally developed as an adult and hasn't ever dealt with the game speed of the NFL, playing against grown-ass men in their late 20s who are fully physically developed and everything.
That should have been their plan to start with then. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let them percolate.
But we are in a win now, highly coveted draft pick environment in the NFL, and teams more often than not, when they have a top 5 pick, it's easy to misstep. It's easy to miscalculate what you're trying to do. I feel like they completely went with profile, with upside, with potential of his physical abilities, rather than going with what he was going to be able to handle on the mental side, as opposed to the Carolina Panthers, who went with Bryce Young's ability to mentally go into a game and take things, but physically couldn't do it. Now, you can question his mental processes. I do too, because a lot of times it seems like he makes the wrong decisions, but that didn't seem to be the case at Alabama. Anyway, look at Jordan Love. Jordan Love held a clipboard. Now, you had a Hall of Fame quarterback ahead of him versus Joe Flacco, but you can analogize Joe Flacco to Aaron Rodgers. So what do you do as the Indianapolis Colts? You let Anthony Richardson take the practice team snaps against the defense. You give him in practice an NFL speed defense to go against in practice for a couple years. He will get the reps, as opposed to getting out on a field and getting his brains beaten in, getting hurt, etc., when he's learning on the job. And there is a benefit to allowing your quarterback that room to make the mistakes. You can't make mistakes in a 17-game season. You cannot make mistakes. You can make mistakes on the practice field. There's a huge difference. So give him the room to grow. Yes, you made a mistake. Now own it and move forward. Make the decision. And I think that's what Shane Steichen's trying to do.
Yeah, but I think you're doing more damage mentally. You're going to break him by benching him quicker than by letting him trot out there and keep failing.
Not if he came out and said, I'm not in a position right now to help the team. Then what that shows is you have a guy who has full cognizance of what his abilities are, what his limitations are, and how much he can help the Colts going forward. He knows as good as anybody. I don't think it hurts his ego at all, nor does it hurt his motivation to understand that he's in over his head. And he as much as said that to his coaching staff. I'm in over my head right now, and I'm not doing the team any good.
I disagree, because he just said that he got no explanation from Steichen as to why he's getting benched. So that does not tell me that Steichen's out there looking for AR's future and really trying to help him grow, if he didn't even explain to the kid why he benched him.
I didn't say that. I didn't. I said
Anthony
Anthony
said
Richardson.
that's what Steichen's trying to do with him. He's taking the route of benching him to make this a good experience for him. And I'm saying that's not happening because he didn't even explain to the kid why he got benched.
No, I'm saying the opportunity is there for Steichen to do that. What
Well, he's not.
Steichen is doing is he's making a decision that is trying to propel the team forward, and he rightly understands that that's not Anthony Richardson right now. It's Joe Flacco.
I think it's piss poorly handled all around from the start. Like, you draft the project, you don't let him grow. I mean, I think they fucked it up from every angle.
And I would agree with you if it was the Chiefs.
Well, at least we can all agree on something, right? Okay, let's move on. More pressing issues here, like stock up, stock down. Schultzy, let's start with you. Let's get into your stock up player of the week.
Well, keep it quick. I'm going to stock up on Marv only because there was a huge gross overreaction to a couple of down games from the guy. We see this shit every year especially with a highly touted prospect. Oh no, you're telling me a rookie struggled for a little bit in the NFL? Whoa, big news. He's already shown us again why he was worth it. And, maybe Malik Neighbors may be the better pick. Shit, maybe even Brian Thomas might be a better pick in fantasy at this point. I'm talking fantasy, not real life. But it doesn't mean Marv sucks. The 180 people did on this guy just from a couple of down weeks was insane. They were saying he's a bust. I don't get it. This is still a really good football player.
Totally agree. And I will say that I wasn't as high on Marv as a lot of people were. In my home league dynasty draft, he went with the 101. I had the 102 and immediately took Malik Neighbors. My team's name is Broleek McBowers, so it's easy for me to get those two guys mixed up. But yeah, I looking at deep in into the metrics, I see and have seen Marv's talent. Right now in his short career, he's played in 8 games or 7 games. He's played in 8 games. He has 4 games that are 15 points or better, and he has 4 games that are 5 points or less. Fewer is the correct word. So he's been roughly 50%. I'm not saying I saw it coming, but when the guy puts out a bunch of stinkers, it's very hard for the narrative to not become he was a bust or a waste or whatever. Now, that said, obviously he's shown his talent, and he's shown that he can be the guy that everybody thought he was going to be. And he's been almost exactly what I thought he was going to be too. So he's definitely in a place where if you can capitalize on somebody else seeing his down weeks and going, oh man, I got to recoup my losses on this, go grab him. But after last week, his stock is rising again.
And don't forget, Kyler has not been great this year either.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I blame Kyler a lot of that for sure. Biggs, who is your stock up player?
Sorry, I'm having some throat trouble.
Want me to go? Want me to go?
No, my stock up player is Joe Mixon, who last night right now is having himself a whale of a game. No, my stock up is Jalen Coker with the trade of Diontae Johnson to the Baltimore Ravens. The Carolina Panthers continue to flounder, and when you've got a floundering team, somebody's got to step up, and we know that's not going to be Jonathan Mingo. We know it's not likely to be Xavier Legette, although I do like him. How about a 6'3", 210-pound undrafted guy who had a huge week? I like Jalen Coker a lot. Go get him.
Yeah, that's a great matchup in the slot there. I agree with that 100% there, Biggs. I like that call. And yeah, I mean, they got to throw somewhere, and that's a very good matchup. So my up is Ladd McConkey. And he had a really good last week. And we all know I don't really have to talk about him too much here, guys, because we're all really high on him. But this is finally his breaking out party that we've been trying to, will into the universe. And it finally happened. And it was a tough matchup to boot. And this is great news for Ladd McConkey owners. And he is now the number one wide receiver. He's always been there all year, but now it's solidified. And that connection with Justin Herbert is now somebody I'm just going to start every week from now on without really hesitation, just based off of his floor now.
Number 3 among the rookies in first downs per route run, which we knew was coming, and he's among the top 5 in missed tackles forced per route run in the entire NFL. So he is the lad that we expected, and hopefully Greg Roman recognizes that.
Let's go. All right, let's get into some stock downs. Schultzy, let's start with you, buddy.
All right, this one's going to be some Chuba Hubbard. He had himself a nice little month there. Let's see, weeks like 3 to 6 in that ballpark. He had like 100 scrimmage yards in all those games. He's relying on primarily volume, and sneaking into the end zone when it doesn't matter. And in the last couple weeks, he's still gotten the volume, but the efficiency has been total crap. I don't think there's any correlation here between Bryce Young and Andy Dalton being the quarterback, because he's had some good games even early in the season. So I'm guessing that's not like a factor here. But the efficiency's been real bad, and he's only had 50 rushing yards on still 15 carries, 17 carries in the last 2 games. So he's not even cracking 4 yards a carry. He only has 2 targets combined in the last 2 weeks, where he was living in the 4, 5, 6 catch range during his nice run. Now he's going to be fighting with Jonathan Brooks back. Maybe not this week, but here in the near future. And with a team that has nothing to play for, once Jonathan Brooks is back and healthy, I don't see any reason they aren't going to be seeing everything they got out of that kid.
Yep. Agreed. All right, Biggs. Stock down.
Stock down is going to be Jordan Mason. Now remember, folks, stock down means perfect time to buy. Jordan Mason has had a couple of stinkers, but there is no sign of Christian McCaffrey coming back. And moving forward over rest of season, the Jordan Mason matchups start to open up a little bit. So I say his value is down. Time to go grab him.
Yeah. When values are plummeting, that's when you get a guy, and I'm going to do the same thing with Rome Odunze. He's a guy that, touted as coming into this draft as the number 3 overall wide receiver, and he hasn't kind of lived up to that expectation. The Bears offensive line has been not great at protecting Caleb Williams. Keenan Allen has kind of been the number 1 target in that offense. And DJ Moore hasn't been living up to his expectation either. So I think this is the prime time to kind of get in on Rome Odunze, who has got a long-term standing relationship blossoming with Caleb Williams. They're going to be tied together for a lot of years, and don't let this initial, downplay deter you from his upside here, because I think his long-term success is going to be really ample with the Caleb Williams in the future here, guys.
I want to rewind a little bit where I just said stock down means go and get him, and then Greinberg reiterated what I was saying and said that means go out and get him. I just want to clarify. It doesn't mean everybody who's stock down is go out and get them. It means stock down, but with some speculation that their stock is going to go up at some point, because you do have some people like Dalvin Cook, whose stock bottomed out last year, came back, and it hasn't gotten any better. You have people like that across the league whose stock drops, and then they are never able to recover. when you're talking about a Rome Odunze or a Jordan Mason, you're talking about a guy who does have an opportunity down the line. So now that everybody is starting to get out on the player, Jordan Mason is going to be a restricted free agent next year. He finds himself in a position where the 49ers can pay him a lot of money and retain him, thinking that CMC might be hurt in the long term. Or he could have another suitor come calling and say, hey, we're going to throw him a bag and make him our guy because we've seen the kinds of things that he can do. With Rome Odunze, we know what we're looking at. He's, an incredible stud that has a long-term relationship, like Greinberg said, with Caleb Williams that's just starting to percolate. And so that's when the stock down means go get them.
All right, let's get into our Studleys and Dudleys of last week before we get into our starts and sits. Now, Schultzy, were you here with us last week? I don't remember. All right. So, yes, you told everybody to start Jordan Love. How did that work?
And I listened.
I'm calling it a push.
Okay?
No. I don't know. No. I've got a reason.
Because Malik
I call it a push because the guy threw for 192 yards in under half of football.
It's not a push because he got 5.5 points in my starting lineup.
It's a push because I was right and wrong at the same time.
That's a Dudley call.
That's a Dudley call.
All right, fine.
Although I will say I had the same call. So
it's a push, right?
No, that wasn't on this show. You got to own it.
No, I'm saying it. I'm saying in real life, in my lineup. So right, your duds are my duds.
All right, because I was going to say
bad play.
You can't own two like twice in one 1 week. It's not fair to you, Biggs.
No, that's not what I was saying. What I was saying is
I know. I get it now. Yeah. All right. You want to go over your studs and duds there?
Well, who was Schultze's official dud?
I said to sit Daniel Jones, and I was right. He threw for like 260 with no touchdowns and an interception, and he ran for 1 yard, which, if you know anything about dimes, like he's got to run for 40 plus a game to be anything worth it.
Lost me a parlay on underdog. All right. My dud, I said to start Caleb Williams, and he goes out and does QB 28, which is in the sub Will Levis territory. So that wasn't good. And against a Washington Commanders offense that had been giving the world to their opposing quarterbacks. So thanks for showing up, guys. And my stud, I said to sit Terry McLaurin. That was a good call because he didn't do so hot.
Terry had a good game, didn't he not?
I don't know. I said Caleb Williams, bad call. Terry McLaurin, good call.
That was a pretty boring game for fantasy. I don't think Scary Terry could have done much.
Yeah. I don't know. 5 for 125 is a good game to me.
Yeah, that's solid.
That's probably top 24. Anyhow, we're going to move on to my Studleys and Dudleys.
He wasn't even a wide receiver 1, Mike.
Well, that's why he said probably top 24, not 12.
There you go. All right. I hit a couple here. I told everybody to start J.K. Dobbins, who got in the end zone, had 4 receptions. Although he didn't get a whole lot of yardage, he still got a touchdown and 4 receptions. So that's a start for me.
I call that a push.
Why? And then
technicalities.
I told everybody to sit Devin Singletary, and then Tyrone Tracy just took a grab.
Who did you tell him to sit?
Nevin Ningletary, or what did
who?
Devin Singletary.
Who?
Dingleberry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dingleberry, and he got supplanted by Tyrone Tracy in a monster game.
It's time for starts and sits.
Let's do
Biggs
it.
introduces starts and sits. Segment 5, starts and sits. Schultzy's starts.
Okay. Start 1. Patrick Mahomes. Buccaneers give up lots of yards through the air. Patrick Mahomes throws balls in air. DeAndre Hopkins catch ball, Travis Kelce catch ball. Good times.
Xavier Worthy catch ball.
Yes.
Good. I'm definitely. I can't wait because I got full on film of both of you guys talking about my quarterback in such great regard in the same week that shorts are going to come out this week in flux on Pat Mahomes in your voices. It's going to be awesome.
Make
so
sure
thank
you say
for that.
film.
Film.
You have film.
And do you want me to do my sit right now?
Yeah, go for
All
it.
right, let's sit Javonte. The Ravens' run defense is very staunchy. Now, this is a little bit of a funnel situation for two reasons. They give up a lot through the air, but the other reason they give up a lot through the air is because this is a damn good team who plays with leads. They're playing at home against the Broncos. Yeah, Bo Nix has been impressive for what we thought he was going to be, and the Broncos are better than we thought. But I still think the Ravens run away with this one, and I don't see them having reason to pound Javonte. And even if they have to, I don't see him being successful.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat yourself? I got a little distracted. There was an Old Navy commercial with a bunch of thick girls wearing skin tight jeans. Good Lord. What just happened, Schultzy?
I was
I'm
saying
sorry.
jeans are so out.
Let's move on. My start number one is Devontae Smith. So we're looking at a huge game on the part of the Philadelphia Eagles against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are now second in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. It's going to be a huge day for Hurts. It's going to be a huge day for A.J. Brown. It's going to be a huge day for Devontae Smith. It's going to be a huge day for Craig Calcaterra.
Yeah.
It may not be.
Jags are so vulnerable to the tight end.
I am saying to start Devontae Smith.
Don't forget about Jake Stoll.
That's true. Saquon Barkley might have a 60-yard reception too. The Jacksonville where was I looking? I love these
the
charts.
Jaguars.
Start Devontae Smith.
You know who else has got a really good affinity for Devonta Smith this week?
You guys, are we making up words like just left and right? Affinity. Schultzy made up a word. Like, what is happening?
You made one up on our last show. You made a couple words up there that I thought was pretty speculative.
Don't say a couple. Don't exaggerate. I fumbled over one.
Anyhow, Mason's got Devonta Smith as his hero of the week this week in our show.
What happened last time? What happened last time he and I had the same guy?
We're not going to talk about that.
Because wasn't that Marvin Harrison Jr.
So
hey, I love the play though.
Take that for what you will. You guys are on point.
Jags got Tyson Campbell back, and he's very, very good on the outside. Now AJ Brown is still going to do AJ Brown stuff, but when Tyson Campbell plays, wide receiver twos tend to do damage on the Jags.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. They just showed Halsey in a tiny little dress, and I don't know what just happened.
Oh, I was just saying that the bench bigs this week.
Bench bigs.
Probably was.
All right, Biggs, who's your sit then?
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say Jamar Chase. What? Oh my God. What? Yeah.
No.
First off, don't bench Jamar Chase. Secondly, I'm saying Jamar Chase because I want to be controversial. And he's going up against a Raiders offense or Raiders defense that is going to be very, very vulnerable to Chase Brown and Zach Moss. But they do have some good cornerbacks in Nate Hobbs, Jack Jones, and Corey Bennett. Whoever they decide, whether they travel with Jamar Chase or they decide to just play whatever side of the line he's on. I think they're going to be okay at neutralizing him. They do have good safety help. They have a trio of safeties who are pretty good. So I wouldn't expect much out of Jamar Chase. And if you have wide receiver, like say you have one of those lineups where you were able to draft like 3 alpha wide receivers, and Jamar Chase is one of them, but you also have Justin Jefferson and Malik Neighbors and blah blah blah. Go ahead and slide Jamar Chase down to that slot, or just stick him on your bench completely.
Yeah, down game is definitely in the cards here. So yeah, I agree with you there, Biggs. Let's talk about
That's a bad move, Greenberg.
what do you mean? Talk about?
Don't agree with me.
I just think that's a tough matchup in general. So
I talk out of my ass so much. It's bad. That's bad.
All right. Here's one for my homies. Okay, I'm gonna pour one out for.
We already had
Raiders
Patrick
here.
Mahomes.
I'm pouring out for you, buddy, because I'm starting a Las Vegas Raider this week, and he's a must start for me. Yeah, man, and I think
I have the vapors.
Jacoby Myers is going to be awesome in this game against that same Bengals team. The Raiders, they're moving forward, and Myers stands out as the team's primary threat, especially since Devontae Adams is gone. He's got a solid matchup, and the Bengals, they've allowed significant yardage to wide receivers this season, and I think he's poised to be at least a strong wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside. I think he's going to be getting, 10 to 12 targets, and for me, that's a must start in any league, and he's got that upside there. So I like Jacoby Myers this week. Do you like any Raider at all moving forward? Is Jacoby Myers the guy?
Well, I do like this matchup against the Bengals. I feel like his floor is about 12 points, and if he can throw a touchdown in there, then he's going to be in the conversation for a definite must start. But it's really going to be, I think, the Brock Bowers show. And when we look at what the Cincinnati, good Lord,
Cincinnati,
I haven't even started drinking yet.
Is that a new word? Cincinnati?
No, it's just my thing's not. Come on, my thing's not coming up. That's what she said, or whatever.
Yeah, I'd say they make a pill for that.
I'm waiting on the stupid refresh. Anyway, sure, start Jacoby Myers.
All right. And then my sit this week is inevitable, and it's Bucky Irving. He's been pretty good this season, actually really good. He's exceeded all of mine and Biggs' expectations, although, probably Schultzy had him as his number 1 running back headed into this draft, the way that he talks about him. But
number 1 in my heart.
Yeah, he's emerged 5.2 yards per carry.
Filleting him. Good
Exactly.
Lord.
It's impressive what he's done, but I think this is a crowded backfield now. Tucker's emerged, and I think that Rachaad White within the passing game is always going to be a threat there. And the game script in this game and how tough that defense is against the run. I just think that the Chiefs are really, really solid against the run, and I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of room for Bucky Irving to move, and they're going to be out of this game based off of both of your guys' premonition on Patrick Mahomes having a big one. So I'm just thinking that Bucky's going to be on my bench this week.
That's what she said.
Him and White were totally startable until Sean Tucker got in the mix.
I think that White's startable this week based off of the upside that he has in the passing game. I think they're going to be able to really definitely use him in the passing game, and this is just a game that Bucky Irving's going to be kind of just worked out of because of his rushing.
No, I think before Sean Tucker became a thing, both dudes were at the point where you could start both of them.
Yeah,
and not anymore. But Rachaad White every week still.
But White had his best game after the Sean Tucker breakout. Rachaad White had his best game. But I'm in no way comparing Alexander Madison and Zamir White to Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. but we're looking at a Chiefs defense that held Alexander Madison to 15 yards rushing on 14 carries, and Zamir White to -1 points in fantasy. So it's not a good matchup for the Buccaneers running backs this week.
Spags is free.
But I mean, they knew what the game.
Okay, here we go. I got it. What was I talking about before?
Thick girls in jeans.
Damn it. Distracted again. Tight ends and wide receivers. Cincinnati Bengals. And where do they go? Right there. Okay. They allow about 18 points to wide receivers. Jacoby Myers is going to be the lion's share of that on the Raiders side of the ball. And they also allow where'd it go? I gotta scroll down. Here it is. They are eighth in points allowed per game to tight ends. So it's going to be Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers leading the way. Thank you.
You know what's going to be really hard, guys, is finding enough Patrick Mahomes highlights to pop into your shorts that I'm going to be popping off here. That's the challenge.
That's what she said.
Hey.
We hope you win.
We hope you win.
I mean,